Let's Get Down to Business is presented by Bravo, the marketing arm of Ash Brokerage Corporation, the practice enhancement company. All this week, it's the Advanced Insurance Sales Series. And on today's show, good logic or bad logic? And with me today to answer that question is nationally recognized advanced sales expert and creator of InSmart, Bob Ritter. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome back to day 3, Bob.
Glad to be here.
Bob, I noticed that not only is this a cool phrase, but I see that you trademarked it, right? So it must have been very important to you. You call this thing, as I introduced the show today, good logic and bad logic. Why did you come up with that? And why don't we try to really think this through? Because I want our advisors that are watching our show to understand, how did you come up with this? And why does this work? And why does it work, especially with people who are the deal makers or the people who write the checks, your clients' checks? So talk a little bit about good logic, bad logic.
Well, there's 3 stools to asset allocation. Most advisors only deal with 2 of them: the accumulation phase and the distribution phase. There's one in the middle that's of vital interest. Most clients, when they arrive at retirement, they may have had their assets just the way they wanted them to, and they got to take their first month's income. I don't know what it's going to be, 5 or 10 or 20, 25,000. And they scratch their head and say, well, which asset should I take it from? Nobody tells them. There's no structural planning on saying, this is a good asset to take it from, this is a bad asset to take it from. How do we prioritize accessing assets for retirement cash flow so it makes the most sense that your long-range net worth is the highest possible and the long-range wealth to your heirs is the highest possible?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there for a second. So what you're saying is there's a chronology to what assets you pull out first. There's sequence to this. How much, is there a big difference in the end game then?
It's astonishing. It's perhaps the biggest aha moment to clients that exists for users of ours that show their clients what they're doing. You hit one button and X happens, you hit another button and Y happens, and the difference is like that.
Okay, let me make sure. So if we come to age 65 in your example, we have all our assets on the table. We begin to take income, distribution, we're retired. Depending upon when I take what out at what time, in sequence, in chronology, there could be way more money available, especially if we decide to become the Guinness Book of World Records and we live till 90, 95, 100. That makes such a difference. It's the same asset, it's when we're taking it out.
Exactly.
Well, now, how many advisors are doing this?
Well, it's hard to do with a lot of assets because it's an algorithmic solve, a factorial solve. So if you have 5 assets, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, I think it's 120 odd. Of a 40-year illustration, each calculation being complex, you don't dare do that on an Excel. You take a year to do it on Excel. We built the algorithm so you can do it. You have to have that. One button, it'll do it in 2 or 3 seconds.
Are you saying that the software accommodates all the iterations or possibilities?
Yes.
So I'm already looking at that. I'm looking at those numbers and I can see, how long does it take to crunch a number like that?
On our software?
Yeah.
2 or 3 seconds.
Seconds.
Now, if you go to 10, it might tell you to go to lunch. We tried to do 18 for one client, and honest to God, it told us, do you want to wait 2 years? Because you multiply that out, by the time you get times 10, times 11, times 12, you're in the 40 million area, and it keeps going. So,
do you think most clients have that many assets anyways in their inventory to pull from?
That depends. It just depends. You may have some clients who are going to have to dump illiquid assets into liquid assets in order to survive. Program tells you when to do that too.
So if we know all the assets going in, the database is going to pick up that information, use those algorithms as you suggested. They're going to calculate every iteration, every possible version or angle on this, if I'm hearing you correctly. So when I look at that, I'm being able to make a judgment call. And you said, and I've seen, we're going to see this in our second segment, the difference between just taking it out in my view, a very hodgepodge way of taking distributions, which a lot of our clients do, as you know, or taking it out in a methodical, mathematical decision and doing it in a chronology. The difference in money is so huge in the end game over a 25, 30-year retirement plan.
It's almost unbelievable.
It is. Well, now think about this. How did you come upon this? Because I know you were doing this already. I would think advisors would already be awake to this.
Well, you have a sense of what's good money and what's bad money before we built the algorithm. For instance, retirement money, although it's taxed terribly when you die is probably best left alone for as long as you're going to leave it alone, beyond required minimum distributions. We did know that. We know that money in a mattress ought to be one of your worst assets. We ought to get at that right away. So there was some logic to what we knew about. We used to try to fiddle with it to see which was the best way. But with half a dozen, 8 or 9 assets, we were constantly jiggling to see, and then see what the result was. Why don't we just build the system to figure it out for us?
How long did it take you to build the whole algorithm?
Oh, maybe 3 months.
3 months. So it was good 3 months now. Now that's in the plan now. It's in Insmark right now. If you're just coming into our Wednesday show, you need to go back Monday and Tuesday. Hey, who's Bob Ritter? Who's Insmark? Really, we have some method to our madness in what we're teaching all this week. And if you want to try your own free trial, as I've said in our commercial, you need to go see that, because to me, this will really help you understand what we're talking about. This difference in taking distributions in chronology, to me, is what separates the normal advisor from the advisor who's very using good logic and bad logic. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue our discussions of good logic and bad logic using its Wealthy and Wise software system that calculates the rational retirement choice. And don't forget Bob's free trial offer to take Insmark for a spin at insmark.com/free offer/ash. And remember, you can also sign up for your own 30-day free trial offer from Backroom Technician at brtnow.com/trial-signup.aspx. We'll be right back after the break.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged indexed universal life from one of the largest distributors of indexed universal life, Ash Brokerage.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm Steve Savant with Bob Ritter, and remember, you can watch all our episodes of Let's Get Down to Business, including my weekly consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game, at ashbrokerage.com. Just click on the show's logo on the homepage. It'll take you right out to all our shows. And just a heads up, before moving forward with anything that you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor or your legal counsel, as well as your broker-dealer compliance officer. Well, let's get down to business. We're discussing good logic versus bad logic using Wealthy and Wise software system that calculates the rational retirement choice that you'll be able to do for your clients. Okay, now I want to read this because this is a little involved and I want to make sure I don't miss any of the material facts inside. We're going to do a case study. This is case study 3. As you can see, it's the whole issue of good logic and bad logic. And to me, this is where advisors have to go to this platform. I love the chronology. It's not just accumulation. It's not just distribution. It's what do we take out in between? When do we take it out? That sequence, to me, could give your clients much more breathing room in retirement, especially if the number one risk of retirement right now, supposedly, is human longevity. So this really matters. We're looking at Simon and Ann Scott, 55 and age 50. They plan to retire in about a decade. They currently have $6.5 million in liquid assets set to support their after-tax retirement cash flow, and their requirements are about, right now in their mind, $25,000 a month, indexed at 3% as an inflation offset. Now, what we've done is we've tried to figure out 2 ways, and make sure I'm talking right here and I read your script. I'm trying to calculate, I need income, but I also want to do preservation of wealth. And Bob, honestly, most advisors give their clients it's one or the other, but never both. Now, this is a second sequence to your good logic, bad logic. I think people believe like, well, I need the income, I have to spend it down. Whatever's left to the kids is left to the kids, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But in the way you've constructed, again, focusing on what assets come out when, this could really make a huge difference on not only your own lifestyle, maintaining it, but what you're going to hand to your children, your grandchildren, the charity of your choice, whatever. Let's look at this for a second, because I think this is really huge. Walk us through these 2.
Well, the top graph is a long-range net worth projection of good logic versus bad logic. And if you take it out, let's say politely, unintelligently, you got the red lines, the red area. Mm-hmm. Your $6.5 million net worth is projected to drop to a little under 3.7 million. But if you do it smart, it's projected to be 16.2.
Okay, so in this kind of, as you say, hodgepodge, unintelligent distributions, right? You're just taking them out as is. I've noticed that number starts going way down quite fast in bad logic, in the red. In this strategic way of taking this money out, we're actually creating what? Much more net worth or much more income?
No, same income, much more net worth.
So
which
same
could
income.
convert to more income if you chose to depress the green line some and take more income.
I want to give that option to our audience for a second. So what we could have done is we could say if we have no intention of errors or our kids are already taken care of or whatever, I could take even the more income out of this using the good logic strategy.
The program will tell you how much more.
How much more? So you could say, oh, I won't really need that much. I'm happy to be a philanthropist. Maybe I'll do something charitable giving. That intent might be there. Now, when I look at net worth, I'm looking at the increasing my net worth and still maintaining my cash flow throughout retirement.
$25,000 a month, indexed to 3%.
All right, now based on that, Bob, what about the second graph on wealth to heirs?
Well, it passes to the kids. Obviously, more to the kids with the good logic. There's a little bit less than the net worth because the state taxes have come into play with the green one, a little bit, taking the new limits into account. The estate is shrunk so small that there's never any state tax on the 3.6 million based upon current tax law.
So if we look at this, what we're really telling the client is we can actually do both now using good logic and sequence of events of when we take our assets out in distribution. How critical is this? To me, this is huge.
Yeah, and the big play is with all that extra money, now's the time to start to do some tax planning. Maybe drop it a little to make the kids so much better off, or charity so much better off, because you got so much extra cash to do that with.
When I'm leveraging on this, and I can, how many passes do you have to use when you're using Wealthy and Wise to get to this kind of a graph? Do I have to? Is it one pass? Does it do it in one shot, or no? I have to do a few iterations.
No, that's an automatic graph. It's the net worth graph. You tell it what age you want to do it to, and that's what it looks like.
Bob, in your experience, are you taking into account? I'm just curious, the mortality of clients now as we starting to live longer. Are we taking this into account?
No, only in the sense that I run it long enough, and I probably didn't. In this case, I probably should have run that a little past 95 anyway. I didn't, but only that way.
But you could. You could put it to any date you want. I mean, I'm looking at this. I remember in the turn of the century, we were writing tremendous amounts of second to die or survivorship contracts based on mom and dad dying in a very confined timeline. We found out that dad died, according to the tables, almost a year on either side of the actuarial tables. But mother was dying 5, 7, 8 years beyond, and we had no liquidity. In this scenario, we can plot out and push it all the way out. So if you think you're going to be the Guinness Book of World Records, which, by the way, was that French gal who died at 121, or you just want to be the Smucker's jar celebration from Willard Scott, you know, the weatherman who says happy birthday to everybody's turning 100. To me, I could push this number out and cover extreme longevity, which I think we're heading for. I think the baby boomer females are going to be in on numbers that are going to be unbelievable. If you already have longevity in your life and you're female and you're good diet and everything, I think you're going to see 95 to 100 all day long. And we can accommodate this in Innsmouth and Wealthy and Wise.
Yes.
See, to me, that's something we all started to think about. We're talking about sequence of events when distribution comes out. Now we're talking about how long should I show the graph. And I think if you're looking at underwriting and you see a preferred female client, you need to start thinking about probably age 95. Well, that's our show for today. Remember, you can read all my online insurance news commentary, advisor blogs, and articles on Producer's Web, as well as my answers to consumer questions on the Insurance Library. And don't forget to view any of our past episodes at our on-demand section located at www.downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. So don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or just email me, steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor.